All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining today. My name is Mo Bashir from ATS Spec. I have with me today Angelo from GWBD, and today we are going to be presenting dog wash stations. GWD on a variety of different manufacturers, and Angelo's going to go in details about them, about the company, about the different products that they have, and we'll be talking about dog wash stations, as I mentioned. If you have any questions throughout, just please type your questions in the chat. I'll be monitoring and I'll relay your questions to Angela. Thanks to everyone that joined. And as always, the certificates of attendance will be sent out to everyone toward the end of the week. And Angelo, it's your show now.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Mo. As he has mentioned, my name is Angelo Balistreri. I am customer service and product training manager on this side. I know we've talked about dog wash stations. Those are most definitely a hot topic, but to make this a more beneficial presentation for everyone attending, we're going to loop it in to kind of share with you almost 4 new different products that we're going to be announcing. And the first piece is you're going to hear 3 different manufacturers today. There's the Prior products, there's the Stern Williams, and there's a Fiat products. These are 3 separate manufacturers, all under the umbrella of a parent company called GWBD, which is kind of why this may be a little confusing. We're going to hit you with 3 different companies, but there's 4 different products that we're launching within these companies that could be beneficial. And this is just an educational session, let you know what's coming down the pipeline, what's available. All these products we're going to talk about today are available as of today. So these are all something that you can order. But we wanted to give you a snapshot of these are 3 separate manufacturers, all under one umbrella of a GWBD operations. And a little bit just about each particular manufacturer. I can get that going. Prior, real quick, they pretty much have been around since 1881 is when we were established as a brass foundry here in Kansas City, Missouri. That's still where we are operating today. And that's actually where I'm in today for today's presentation is our Grandview just south of Kansas City, Missouri. We pretty much make hose-threaded valves. We've been manufacturing hose-threaded valves from the early 1900s, but we found a niche in frost-proof in the 1940s, and that's pretty much where we hang our hats is on that frost-proof hose-threaded valves, and then plenty of an array, but pretty much 95% of what Prior's manufacturing has a hose thread on it. So that's where we are in a niche market for that particular offering. And then Stern Williams. Stern Williams was actually purchased by GWBD going back into 2021. They manufacture mop basins and shower floors made out of terrazzo, but they also make hand custom fountains, outdoor drinking fountains and shower towers and things like that. So a little bit of this company too. It's a little smaller. It's in southern Missouri as well. One thing you'll hear from pretty much all 3 of these manufacturers, they're all here in the States. That's something we really are proud of, and we want to continue to lean in on that, is these manufacturing plants are located in the United States. Stern Williams is mainly a terrazzo-based offering, so their products are that concrete with marble granite chips, very heavy duty, very industrial. These are pretty well versatile across the industry regarding janitorial closets and things of that nature. But essentially, Stern Williams, you're going to have mop sinks, shower floors, and outdoor drinking fountains and shower towers. And then a newer acquisition for us that took place in 2022 is we purchased the Fiat name rights company from American Standard Lixil at the very beginning of 2022. They also make mop sinks, shower floors, things like that, but they also offer a molded stone. So they do terrazzo as well, just like their sister company, Stern Williams, but there's a need for a lighter weight, more economical option. So they actually lean into the molded stone, which is a sheet mold compound that's heat pressed and actually forms a very durable, thick mop basin shower floor. But these are just a quick summary of the three companies that we have. But for the nuts and bolts of this presentation, we wanted to focus on what are we going to talk about today. So each one of these companies offers some new products. The Fiat, you're going to have the Pooch and Boots scrub tub, which I think Mo was highlighting early on. We'll lean into that. We'll talk about Stern Williams. We have a new solar light option add-on for our drinking fountains and bottle fillers. And then we'll also lean into something that's been a very hot topic for us is our stainless steel mop sink. This is brand new for us. We're getting out of the old mentality of only terrazzo, so we want to lean into options for customers. And stainless steel gives us a good launching point into a new segment of that particular product. And then for prior, we're going to talk about a sanitary roof and yard hydrants that leads it to a safe drinking experience, and we'll lean into that as well. And then we'll kind of try and round it out with some questions at the end. Now, Mo and I were talking, if you have questions anytime throughout the presentation, let's go ahead and you can throw them into that question Q&A box or in the chat. Mo's going to monitor that for me. If there's anything pressing, we'll go ahead and try and address it right then and there. So don't worry if you got a question, don't want to interrupt, go ahead and throw it in there, and we'll most definitely try to address it in a timely manner. But let's go ahead and get started. So the first product is going to be from Fiat Products, and it's our Pooch and Boots scrub tub. And essentially what we want to talk about is what's currently being done today. We're going to show you what we're introducing to the marketplace. And then when I say introducing, we just launched this within the last couple months. So this is a brand new thing for us. We'll talk about some features and benefits, and then some marketing materials that are available for you. And then we'll have a snippet of a question piece there for anything referencing this particular item. But the image that you see here in this agenda page, this is actually something that Fiat has had envisioned in their company focus for some time, just never really came to fruition. This picture is actually from the 1970s when Fiat, so the concept was kind of already there, but we just never really did anything with it until today. So current market conditions for a pet wash station, your options are kind of limited, and two of them are pretty extensive. The first one is custom made. I think we all agree custom made is beautiful. It's also expensive, and it requires a lot of additional things in regards to coordinating. Hey, we got to get the framer to frame this out. Oh, then we got to get the plumber to come in and run everything. Then we're going to have to get the tile guy in. Then the plumber's going to have to come back later to put all the finished goods together and get everything connected. And there's just several different steps, several different trades involved here. So we wanted to simplify that. That was a big piece of what we were trying to really do with this idea, was just make it simple. Now there are companies out there that sell big giant stainless steel units and stuff like that, and they're great. They probably serve their purpose well, but they're very expensive. They're very bulky. They don't always come with stairs. Sometimes that it requires a tenant of an apartment complex or a homeowner to be lifting up a 50, 60 pound animal to get them up into the top. So we kind of kept a lot of this in mind when we were looking to launch what we were getting ready to name Pooch and Boots. Now, for the most part, the focus for us is on the specification side. These are going to be a residential application, but we also see an opportunity for multifamily. Or those condominiums and those apartment complexes. For a lot of them, dogs are let's just face it, in the U.S., people spend a lot of money on their animals and they love their animals, and we want to lean into that. So a lot of these new apartment places, they have outdoor dog park areas and things like this. But sometimes you come back with a muddy dog or whatever. Man, it'd be great if you had a general area that you can rinse the dog off so you don't have mud getting tracked all over the facility. So that's kind of where some of the envision is here is we wanted to put a package together for multifamily as well as residential applications. And with that being said, we officially are launching the Pooch and Boots. So we wanted to make sure we threw in boots there because this is not just a dog wash station. This is just not a pet wash. I mean, this is a utility sink faucet that we're able to use for pretty much endless opportunities. So if you're a planter or you got muddy boots or you have something that needs to be hosed down and you need to make sure it all goes down a drain, these are opportunities here to utilize this unit. Now, we will offer this in two separate sizes. There is a 36 by 24 and there's a 24 by 24. Obviously, depending on what the needs are, I would say on the multifamily side, we're probably going to be seeing a lot more of the 36-24. We want to err in the size of larger for those larger dogs. Now, this isn't probably going to work great for like a Great Dane or anything like this, but we imagine, 70-pound, or less dog, this is going to have no problems with a 36-24. You get to some of those larger dogs and stuff like that, we may run out of some space constraints. And, we've always talked that maybe we'll announce something new as we kind of get down the line. Again, this is a new offering. If we see a demand for something else, hey, well, we manufacture shower floors that get larger. We manufacture things. We can go that path. But today, this is where we're launching. The Pooch and Boots scrub tub includes the mop basin itself. It's going to include a valve. It's a valve provided by one of our sister companies, Prior Products. It's a hot and cold valve where you can adjust the temperature so you can get tempered water for your animals. You're going to have a stainless steel hose sprayer that comes off of that. There is a garden hose sprayer, and we'll talk about that here in a minute as well. There's a leash hook, so you can anchor that into a 2x4, and with that, it'll give great support. We'll lean in on that too. You'll get a hook actually to hold on to the sprayer, so you get that up. It's not down in the tub. It's not up on a shelf somewhere. You don't have to store it anywhere. You can actually just hang it in there. And then the other piece is the stainless steel wall guards are also going to be a part of this. So this is a big piece of one of the things that we're trying to protect the surrounding walls. And then the last piece is there's a stainless steel lint trap basket underneath the strainer. So we're not talking about the strainer itself. The strainer's included, but that strainer will be removed and there's a lint basket underneath there to allow you to clean out any dog hair in a quick manner. So a couple additional features and benefits, so kind of digging into those more, like I said, the 36-24 is going to accommodate almost any size dog. The larger dogs, we may need to find a different option for that, but sizes are going to vary. Again, 24 by 24, 36 by 24. The soap dispenser is actually a cool little contraption. You can actually pour just about any liquid soap in there. If you have a dog shampoo, regular shampoo, if you wanted to pivot over and use this for your car, you could put car detailing stuff in here. And it's actually got a thermostatic or a dial on the top. Sorry, not thermostatic. It's got a dial on the top with different settings that allows more soap to go through or no soap to go through. And then on the end, you can adjust your sprayer. So I'm sure many of us have seen those little garden sprayers that have different varying cones, sweep, mist, spray, full. All of that is going to be built into the orientation of that as well. The hot and cold, the nice feature about this, not only is it a code approved valve, I know on the previous slide it said it was a 1019 ASSC code approval. It's a CUPC certified product, so there is backflow and vacuum breaker built into it. And it's also on a swivel. So you'll never have to worry about this getting pinched or anything like that. The spout itself actually will swivel back and forth. And then the leash hook itself, again, if we are securing that to a 2x4 stud member in the back behind the wall, this is going to give you a great rigid support to make sure that your dog's not running off. In fact, it can hold up to a 500-pound force, which would significantly mean that we can hold just about any dog in here, so we're not have to worry about them running out while we're trying to wash the animal. The hose itself is about 5 foot long. Again, the wall guards give you that protection with the lint baskets and stuff we talked about. But one of the beauties about this offering is we give you everything in one box. So everything we're talking about right here literally comes in one box. Oh, went ahead, sorry. So that is the beautiful piece of this is the contractor, the plumber, they don't need to work with all these different trades. They don't need to source all these different items, the shower valve and this valve, and oh, what about this? Did you do that? Everything comes together as one package. And then this is going to be available with or without a valve. So we do realize some people might not like this look of a hot and cold faucet. Maybe they want a shower valve instead. That's an option. We can offer this kit minus the valve. Obviously, there's a little bit of a savings there. That then the contractor plumber could then coordinate with the end user. What specifically were you looking for, and match something up there.
Before we go to the next slide,
Yeah.
We got a couple of questions here.
Yep.
The first one, they were asking the material of the top, what is it made of?
Okay.
And then also,
yeah, let me address that one first.
Yeah.
So that is a good question. Molded stone. So this is that sheet molded compound that we are using called SMC. So these are a rigid polymer it's a heat press unit. It's all one solid unit. Fiat is known for their SMC molded stone basins. That's the MSB aspect. These are a unit that we are already utilizing today, and we sell a lot of them across the industry. These are pretty well known. They're just the lighter model of a terrazzo. So essentially gives you a little flexibility. So great question. Sorry I didn't call that out earlier. Molded stone is the terminology. It is essentially a polymer mix with a Fiat offering.
Is it scratch resistant?
So obviously they will be able to hold up to some regard. Some of the larger dogs could have a little scratching there, but for the most part, they are very durable. We typically don't have too many issues. Again, these are utilized in janitorial closets all across the country, actually the continent. We sell them in Canada, the US, and in Mexico. A lot of these are pretty much utilized. So yes, are they can be scratched? Yes, but the larger dogs would probably be the ones that would probably have the most impact. But for the most part, the nice thing is a lot of those can just be sanded out. The molded stone is very applicable to be sanded down, and you would be good to go again.
Okay, awesome. And the other question was is there any grit or ridges on the bottom to dogs?
Yeah, there's a little bit of a resistance in there, but it's not super slippery, but it's not a designated grit or anything along those lines to prevent slipping. Again, it's just our standard mop basins that we're utilizing here today. And again, something we could easily look at if that's something that people voice that they think is needed. As it is today, we're just utilizing components from existing products.
Any slip mask on the outside of the tub?
That would be provided just by somebody else. I mean, we do not offer that in our kit today, but it's not a bad idea. That may be something to look at incorporating to add to the package. I think that's probably something you could probably fit inside of this as well. But as it is today, that is not available. Those would come from a different vendor.
And maybe you'll touch on this later on, but how do you install a lint interceptor?
Yeah, so the lint basket piece, I believe is what we're referencing. It actually just goes right below the strainer. So that strainer actually rotates and then comes straight up. And inside there's a lint basket with a little handle. You would actually just grab the little handle, you pull it straight up, and then you would actually just clean out the basket, and then you're going to drop it right back into that same hole, and then you're going to lock that strainer back in its place.
I think that covers our questions so far.
Questions there? Okay.
Yeah.
Good questions. Thank you for asking. I mean, these are all things that some things I'm learning here as well. There's most definitely some things maybe, again, guys, this is a new thing for us. Not to say we can't pivot, add, revise, change. These are all things that we're learning as we go here, that we want to have valuable input like this to give us the best product. So a couple marketing materials, just breezing through these real quick, just so you know they're available. We do offer installation instructions for the IOM. We have sales flyers. If anybody's looking for additional information, this is going to be located on our website, which is fiatproducts.com. We also will offer spec sheets so you can get the dimensions and everything that you need. You're going to see down at the bottom here, these are list prices for the US. You're going to see that the PW2424 is around $1,100 list. Again, that pricing is going to vary, but that's our suggested list pricing. And then your no valve is that NV model right below it. You're going to see that we're going to save, about $120, $130 or so regarding a savings there for minusing out the valve. And then the larger model, obviously a little bit more material, so pricing's up just about right around $150 more or so on a list price, minus the structure for the no valve as well. But spec sheets give you all the nominal dimensions and the rough-in dimensions that you may need for installing a product such as the Pooch and Boots scrub tub. Model number is a PW-2424 or PW-3624. Model is a pet wash, essentially, but the naming needs to be a little bit more generic. That's why you see Pooch and Boots. So any additional questions before we jump on to the next part of the presentation?
Yes. Are we able to buy components of this kit for replacements or other use?
Yep, absolutely. We're working on that now. Actually, our national sales manager is working with us currently to get those. But yes, we'll be able to sell the wearable components and even just the components on their own if somebody was trying to do something on their own themselves. Okay, wonderful. Let's jump to the next brand, Stern Williams. We actually have two new products launching for Stern Williams that we'll be talking about today. The first one goes along with our custom-made outdoor drinking fountains and shower towers. Each one of these items is handcrafted in the U.S. They're made in Carterville, Missouri, so it's just in the south part of Missouri in the Midwest. One of the things that we pride ourselves in is making sure when a customer gets this, it looks like it was designed specifically without any welding or anything like that. But essentially, we take a metal tube of carbon steel or stainless steel and we add everything onto that. But we pride ourselves in making sure that you don't see any welds, you don't see any bumps or ridges along the way. It looks flawless when it comes out after the powder coating. And then again, we can customize. That's where Stern Williams is really going to hang their hat, not on just the fountains, but on the terrazzo side. We live in the customization world. We have obviously all the A items, generic pieces, but there's a lot of times customers want this little deviation or they want that little deviation, or we're going to, on a terrazzo, we're going to move the drain here, or I need this certain size. Stern Williams lives in the customization world, and that goes along with our outdoor fountains and drinking fountains, bottle fillers, and shower towers. We have live customer support and a live engineering team. So for technical assistance and designs and drawings and stuff, we can get all that stuff readily available, even on the custom stuff. Same-day entry, so we can actually turn things pretty quickly. Our fountains pretty much run around a 4-week lead time, but again, handcrafted. Once the order's submitted, we get going on that. We actually make it from start to finish, plumbed, ready to go in 4 weeks. So not too bad for a handcrafted design. And then a couple just additional features about this and some product overview. So your flow rates for a drinking fountain, they're going to be right around a ½ gallon per minute on the drinking fountains. Obviously, we don't need a massive stream shooting out of the bubbler. You don't need a mouthwash. You're literally trying to take a drink. So it's a lower flow on the drinking fountains. Now, your shower towers do get a little bit more. We're pumping out about 2.5 gallons per minute. And these are both at a 60 PSI rating, which for us, we believe is fairly standard. Now, you can get frost-proof options. So if you have a climate that is prone to freezing conditions, well, you would either have a surface-mounted unit that needs to be winterized and serviced and drained down every fall to make sure we don't have any freezing water lines and damaged units. Or we offer a frost-proof option, which allows a shutoff to take place in the ground below the frost line itself. So just something to know that is available with our offerings. All of our push buttons require less than 5 pounds of force, which is a code compliant for ADA. So you don't have to push very hard to engage the water flow. All of our products are made of 3 different materials, essentially. The standard is kind of a carbon steel. So it's a very strong, durable material. But we also offer the stainless steel metal, which we would highly recommend for anywhere that's a coastal region. Like for example, Florida or something like that, we're gonna really push for stainless steel. You're gonna pay a little bit more, but that corrosive salt air can really deteriorate the carbon steel. Now, the powder coating does give a protective layer, which typically is going to take care of that. But if there's ever dents, scratches to the unit, or even sometimes the interior, which doesn't get the same powder coating, it can slowly start to rust. So any coastal region, we would highly recommend a stainless steel application for outdoor use. Or you could go a terrazzo or aggregate. So the terrazzo, again, going back to what we do on a daily basis for our mop sinks, we offer things like that. You can kind of see a polished unit here. And the aggregate, these are the old school drinking fountains that I remember growing up with at the local parks and stuff like that. These are essentially a concrete rock mixture, and these are just about durable for any application, including beaches or coastal regions. Now we offer a wide array of colors. We have 11 standard colors that we offer. Our standard for drinking bottle fillers is a green. Our standard for the shower towers and misters are going to be a blue. But you could essentially have any color offering that you want. But anything that deviates from the standard just makes the product a kind of a custom, non-cancelable, non-returnable when we deviate from the standard colors. Now, the new product itself is the solar illumination aspect of an adder for us. So some of the things and feedbacks that we've gotten from national parks and cities and municipalities is some of these products are in a unlit area like a dog park or a walking trail or something along those lines. And sometimes they're not exactly easy to see at night. So with that, we designed a new offering as a Dash 100 that you could add to almost any of our drinking fountains, bottle fillers, or even shower towers and misters. The nice thing is this is a solar unit, so no electrical needs to be run to the unit. Just the water supply is all that's needed. It operates with a solar panel. Obviously, we would want that solar panel to be faced south for optimal charging. The battery does come included. You don't have to go out and source your own battery, and that battery is going to last 5 to 10 years. You'll get a dusk to dawn sensor, so nobody has to go flip a light. Nobody has to turn it on at dusk. It actually kicks on immediately for itself, and it'll last all night long until dawn. It'll shut back off, and then obviously it'll illuminate or it charges again with the solar panel throughout the day. Now this thing's going to pump out probably about 6,000 K LED lights. It throws about a 10-foot light radius onto the area, but essentially it just provides a safer experience at night, a little bit more illumination. Your bottle fillers actually come with the option for it to be lit inside the unit as well, so you can see that here. But this is just a new offering for us on our drinking fountains, bottle fillers, and shower towers.
Now,
I see a couple questions. Yep.
Yeah, for the water filter, how often do you have to change it, and what type of fountain filter is it?
Yeah, so the filter, obviously it's going to be dependent on how frequently it's used. I mean, we would probably recommend an annual flip of the filter. Again, it probably is going to be more dependent on how often is the unit used. But I would say yes, the bottle fillers come with the filters already. Uh, Drinking fountains do not. We can add that as an option, but bottle fillers do come standard with the filter, and we would recommend probably an annual replacement on those, and we do sell those as well. Okay. I
Yeah.
don't see anything else there. So again, just a new product here. The dispenser
So there is
itself
one
is
more actually.
yeah. I see the
Um,
dispenser itself. Is it germ resistant? How often to clean? The dispenser itself is a lead-free unit. It is a brass, and it's going to be chrome plated. Essentially, the design and the mentality for us is we don't want anybody having to maintenance it and clean it. It will not hold any germs. I don't believe anybody needs to go out and clean them, wipe them down daily. For the most part, nobody's ever brought that up to us before, and I don't believe that's a requirement. We want it to be, maintenance free to the most part, minusing a filter here and there. All right. Nothing else. Let's move on to the next section here, which this one is probably one of the ones we're a little bit more excited about. This is a new product for us at the Stern Williams side. Again, our lifeblood is terrazzo on Stern Williams. So it's that heavy duty concrete, rock, marble, granite aggregate in it. And they are so robust, so heavy duty, but they are just so heavy. And they become a problem when the industry requires multiple labor forces. And so, after many years of research and examining what's out there, we're proud to announce that we are now officially launching a new stainless steel option for Stern Williams. So we'll go through a couple things. We're going to show you what it looks like, the parts and the assembly process for it. We'll talk about what the finished product is going to house, what it looks like for installation and the hardware and the packaging, and then we'll get into a couple of the features and the stainless steel advantages over what we're also offering. So simply, again, one thing that we believe in: simplicity and heavy duty materials. So you'll see that the unit essentially is just comprised of two big units of stainless steel. We have a well that's going to be punched out, and there's a skirt that is preformed and folded for us that we drop in and we would seal together. It comes with a drain assembly, and we'll lean into all this stuff a little bit more, but essentially not a whole lot that goes into this, because for us, we just want heavy duty components and simple, simple, simple. For the most part, that leads us to less things to go wrong. So what you see is a finished product. And one of the things that we do that makes us stand out is no other manufacturer is in housing the underbelly of the unit in a spray foam. And we'll lean in on that here in a little bit as well. But so we spray foam insulation all the way around the three enclosed sides to make it more rigid, and also it doesn't sound hollow. You don't have that echoing kind of sound with the unit. Is a sounds like it is a all the way thick through product that is all metal, but in fact, with just that underlaying there, we're spray foaming in there to give it a more durable application. Now the sink itself, so that's that well that's going down in there. It's one solid unit. We are doing a 20 gauge stainless steel. Now the skirt going around it, we believe probably needed to be a little bit more durable, so we made it a little bit thicker out of an 18 gauge stainless steel. You're going to have people kicking it with their boots. They're going to be rolling, mop basins into it, things like that. So we needed it to be a little bit more durable around the skirt itself and make sure it could support the unit. And then the last piece is the drain assembly that comes with it is a brass drain. It comes with a stainless steel gasket, or a stainless steel plate on top with a gasket already included. We'll lean in on some of that as well. You'll also get a mounting bracket, which we'll talk about the installation side of this. But again, all of this comes one packaged unit ready to go. So you get your hardware for the installation and everything you need to install it all comes in the unit itself. So, just looking at some of the competition and, where we can kind of stand out, this is kind of what some of the market is offering. You can see pretty thick walls on the ends, some of them not very deep. You got a little thicker wall to maybe make it a little bit more robust. But for the marketplace, this is kind of what we were looking at and what we're kind of going up against. So we wanted to keep a lot of that in mind as we were creating our product. And one of that is obviously we need compliance. We need to make sure that our product is going to comply with all the codes that need to be. So this stainless steel unit will comply with the ASME rating as well as the CSA, which means pretty much these are stainless steel plumbing fixtures relevant to sinks and fountains and bathtubs. It's a very similar compliance that we're hitting there. And it does comply with the NSF2 as well. So this is great for restaurants and medical applications. And you also have no joints in the unit. This is one solid sealed unit all the way around. Again, the skirt itself, 18 gauge. Now, one of the biggest features about this is it's lightweight. A lot of this comes from the terrazzo. A lot of the feedback that you hear is it's so heavy, it requires 2 people, maybe 3. You got to put a bed of mortar in. It's getting set in that mortar. You got to drop it in place. Well, some of those terrazzo mop sinks weigh 250 to 350 pounds. So they're not a super light application. This item is a 50-pound unit. So one unit or one person can do the install. One person can carry it on to the job site. If it's on a second floor application, they're going to love it. But again, it's lightweight, which is a huge advantage for us. We got the 3-sided skirt we talked about. The bowl is seamless, so it's stamped. So there is no units for any leaking. The whole thing is seamless all the way around. We offer the wall mounting bracket. We have a 2-inch drain. We'll talk about that here in a minute. And we have a 2-inch brass compression drain as well. That's all included. And you get the removable stainless steel strainer. Again, the things that make us stand out a little bit more is the sound deadening aspect with the spray foam. You'll also see that our walls, going back to our competition, you'll see a fairly thick wall. And again, not a bad thing. Obviously, there's probably some durability aspect that they're trying to accomplish. For us, we made it just a little over 1 inch thick. And one of the big reasons we wanted to give the flexibility that you could actually take the mop wringer out of the mop bucket and you can actually hang it on the edge. We made it deep enough. You'll see that the unit itself goes 11 inches deep. So it's almost a foot deep into the unit. So you can, in theory, hang your mop wringer right over the edge of this, put your mop in, and you can wring it out straight into the mop basin itself. So it just gives a little bit more flexibility with the unit. Now the drain size, this is one of the things that we've got a little feedback on and just some things that we'll advance. Again, this is a new product offering. They do come with a 2-inch drain that is a brass compression drain in there. We have heard, hey, what about a 3-inch? Well, most of the research we saw with the restaurants and some of the medical hospitality areas, they were using a 2-inch, but most terrazzo does seem to gravitate to the 3-inch. So, I would probably ask here, if you believe a 3-inch is more common, let us know. Like I said, we think that there is a demand for a 3-inch that we will probably expand into probably before the end of this year, that will offer a 3-inch offering as well. But as it sits today, it's just the 2-inch that we would be offering, but with a 3-inch probably in the near future coming down the pipeline. And then, just advantages to stainless itself. Some of the advantages that we'll have over something like a terrazzo. It's lighter. It gives you that single person installation, which can lead to a quicker install. So there's a saving on the labor side with people and time. Now, some people, they're going to have a preference. Obviously, let's face it, everybody has a preference on it looks better. Some people like the way the concrete aggregate look. Some people like the terrazzo, some people like stainless. Again, it's just an offering. It's just one of those things that gives it more of a neutral, more contemporary look. But this gives us more applications for different industries, like the restaurant industry. There's going to be certain applications for food handling, laboratories in the medical. There's going to be certain requirements because chemicals being poured down need to be able to be capable of holding up to whatever you're going to put into the mop basin itself. It's going to be non-porous, something that you have a little bit of an advantage or disadvantage with on the terrazzo side is it is a little bit more porous. It's a concrete and it's a rock aggregate. Now we fill in as much as that we can with a sealant. That sealant needs to be redone every so many years. And we'll lean into that here in a minute as well. But the stainless can actually resist more extreme temperatures, and it's going to be cosmetically a little bit more appealing down the line. You'll see over on the pH scale side here, one of the things that we find kind of interesting is, when you're looking at terrazzo, which is that concrete, granite, marble chips, there's certain requirements for maintenance and sealers, and they specifically tell you, well, make sure you're not using anything that is got alkali or acids. Well, you can look here. I mean, obviously, we're probably not going to have a lot of battery acid being poured down, stomach acid, unless maybe in the medical side of things. But you look over here, drain cleaner. That's pretty alkali and bleach. These are pretty common things that they're saying probably not ideal on a terrazzo style product because it can deteriorate that at a faster rate. Stainless steel, we don't have to worry about any of that. You can utilize pretty much anything from the acidic all the way to the alkali on that scale, and we're not going to run into the issues utilizing the stainless. Now, regarding installation, again, we wanted to keep it simple. The reason we keep that back wall open, we don't do a four-sided unit, is we're going to actually get it snug up against the wall. So you're going to find your center. It's a 12-inch from the wall. Since it's 24-24, you've got a 12-inch center pipe with a 2-inch pipe sticking up out of the ground. Like a lot of the contractors and plumbers we talked about love this because most of the terrazzo and the stuff today, this drain assembly actually goes down into the floor, which means you'd actually have to recess a hole in the wall or in the floor here to allow that to sit down to allow the pipe to come up. This actually gets up and you're going to protrude about 2 inches off of the finished floor, which then connects to your piping in the unit itself. Now, you will get a Z bracket with the unit. That Z bracket is going to be installed about 6 inches from the edge. You'll drill your 2 holes to get a mounting bracket secured, and then the unit actually has a lip that will engage and it butts it right up against the wall. So we know that we're in the right location, gives it a nice snug fit. And then your gasket, you're going to remove the drain assembly. You'll put your pipe coming up through to the unit, and then we'll have a compression tool that allows you to use the included gasket with the pipe to get it nice and secured. And then the last step would be a silicone bead, maybe to give a water protective barrier to make sure nothing gets in between the mop basin and the wall itself. And essentially comes with a 1-year warranty, and it works with all of our additional accessories, the mop hangers, the faucets, the wall guards. All of this would work with this particular offering. So any questions pertaining to the last 2 items, which was the solar light and the stainless steel mop sink? All right, so I imagine we'll get a question or two coming, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move on just for the sake of time so we can keep rolling here. Again, if you have any questions, go ahead and add them in and we'll address them as they pop up. Now, the last piece is our last manufacturer, and this is Prior Products. Prior has launched a new sanitary yard and roof hydrant, and we're going to kind of lean into that. So, what it is, where is it going to be utilized, some features and benefits and the specifications, what's the competition doing, and then how we're installing this and the serviceability side of it as well. So the P360 and the PRH4 are essentially the same product. with a different application. The PRH4 is a roof hydrant. That's your RH. And it provides a opportunity for you to have a frost-proof unit that doesn't require a drain line. We'll dig into why that doesn't require the drain line here in a minute. And the 360, the P360 is the same exact valve, but this one's going to go in the yard. And it's going to give you a sanitary application because we don't have a drain hole that's open and exposed to any in-ground contaminants that could possibly be there. So where these you're going to probably see utilized on the roof hydrant side, it's going to be more of an application for small, large commercial buildings where maybe you have units on the top of the building that need to be serviced annually. If you have solar panels, you have a HVAC unit, you got anything along those lines that need to be cleaned or kept up with. You cannot run a hydrant from the side of a building all the way up. You'll have a substantial pressure loss trying to do that because you're not going to have enough force to get it all the way up. So we need something up on top of the building itself. So that's where you're going to see this. If you have a rooftop garden or a green space, obviously you're going to need a water supply source up there as well. And if the drain location that you would need to run that drain line, if it's not easily accessible, these are places that we're going to probably want to utilize something like the PRH4. Now the P360, yard hydrants are not anything that's new to the industry, but the issue that we have is the contaminant aspect. So most frost-proof yard hydrants will have a drain hole down below the frost line. So depending on where you live, your frost line is going to vary pretty much from a 1-foot bury to a 7-foot bury, I think is the most I've ever seen, where you'll have to go 7 feet down to get below where the frost line is. But with the issues there is those have a hole down in that bottom that you typically would have when you shut the unit off. That water drains out of the unit and it goes into a gravel pit down below that frost line. The issue that can arise is what if you have a high water table? Or you have contaminants in the ground. Well, essentially, with an open orifice in the bottom there where the drain port is, that essentially leads a piece where water can also get back in. So if you have a high water table, that water actually can get in there, and then the next time you go to operate the valve, you have contaminated water already in the unit that's coming out. So maybe if we're using it for an irrigation application or something like that, we probably don't need to worry about this too much. But when we start talking about, RV parks and people that are going to use this for drinking, bathing, cooking, we need to start paying attention here that there's probably some issues that we need to have clean water for this. So what are some of the features and the benefits of these particular items is, the sanitary aspect means that there's no drain. So the drain's internal. There's a unit at the bottom. There's a couple pictures coming up here that shows this a little bit better, but there's no external access to anything for that water. So we keep everything inside the unit, and we'll show you how we do that here in a minute. These are all lead-free. So everything is lead-free throughout the product. We are NSF 372 compliant. I think we'll talk about some of the codes here in a minute as well. But essentially, no roof for the roof hydrants, there is no need to run a drain line, which is an expensive process. And depending on how far you have to run that drain line, you have material and labor to connect that to a drain port, which could be, in some applications, over 100 yards away. So we eliminate that completely. Now, maintenance, there is none. Essentially, these service themselves every time, and you don't need to winterize. Some of our competition will specifically require you to winterize the unit to prevent it from freezing. For the functional aspect, there's low and high flows. You can kind of see here on the side, there's a low indicator and a high flow, and then there's a medium. There is an initial stroke from this piece all the way down to that low that the water engagement actually doesn't happen. There's actually a water displacement, which we'll talk about here in a minute, but I wanted to call out that this initial stroke from where it is off to the low actually is not engaging the water flow until you hit the low mark. there will be a piston that will actually displace all the water in the reservoir, which again, we'll talk about here in a second. You'll have a large bucket hook. So the bucket hook, you can hang anything on. And then the mounting hardware, which we talk about in a little bit, but we use the heaviest duty cast iron. We use a ductile cast iron to make sure that these do not break. The biggest issue we have is them breaking in transit, not in use. But every now and then they are broken in the field as well. So we use the heaviest duty cast iron for this material. So on the specification side, the flow, you're going to be around 10 gallons per minute at a 25 PSI differential. So that's not a static PSI, that's your flow rate of a 25 PSI differential. You're going to get 10 gallons per minute. Code only says we got to hit 6. So, I mean, we're going to be pumping out some serious water flow out of this unit. Temperatures, we actually test them up to 170, but they're rated to 140 for everyday use. So if you have hot water possibly being utilized for these units, that is something these will be able to hold up to. Your pressure, you're going to be around 120 PSI. We do test them up to 150, but we listed at 100 PSI maximum just for making sure that the wearable components don't wear down too quickly. Now, the overall dimensions and stuff, we do offer all of this through our spec sheets and our submittals and our IOMs, our Revit files. All this is available through our website. We didn't want to, put it all into the presentation today due to timing constraints. And then for the code side, we have seen a new code come about, which is specifically focused on these items. ASSE 1057 is a newer code, probably been around for about 5 years or so, that specifically requires the sanitary application. So it's addressing backflow as well as the sanitary piece, which is meaning that's lead-free, it's compliant, it's going to hit all those on the checklist. So ASSE 1057 approved valves, and this is a newer aspect that it means that it's lead-free, it meets the backflow, and it's a specific required sanitary application. And again, as I talked about, it is NSF 372 listed and labeled, meaning that it is lead-free, safe for drinking. And we make these right here in Kansas City, so these do qualify for anything regarding a Buy America Act, anything that looks for anything on a American-made product. So here's how we kind of stand out a little bit from our competition. There's only about 2 or 3 manufacturers today that make a similar product. And one of the things that we find that makes ours a little bit better is our water displacement unit. So the way a sanitary unit works is there's no drain line. So when you shut the water off, what happens is the water is actually going to need to go out somewhere. And in most places, there's a reservoir that sits below the frost line. So if your mounting bracket is here, then down in the heated part of the building is a reservoir, or in a yard application, we're going to have a reservoir that sits below the frost line. So obviously, depending on your location, would determine what bury depth you're going to need. That reservoir sits below that frost line. Well, most of the competition uses what's called a Venturi system, and that Venturi uses a siphonage. So the outer area here that you're seeing on the outskirts is the reservoir itself. The way it works is the water inlet would be a siphonage system. So when the water is engaged and it turns on, that water starts to flow up. And as that goes up, it's coming up through the unit itself and making its way to the head where obviously the water comes out. In doing so, it actually is a draw. So it's actually siphoning the water in the reservoir into this mix, meaning that it's going to have the reserve water tied in with this. Now, the only thing that we saw as a disadvantage to this was it takes too long to drain this canister with this. This can require anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute, depending on your depths, of cleaning this out. So if you're just turning it on, filling up something or using it, and then shutting it off, if you did not operate it long enough to drain out this reservoir, that water is still housed in here, and the water trying to get back has nowhere to go. So we wanted something that was a little bit different, not utilizing that. and ours led to a piston water displacement unit. So this is your stem assembly going up to the hydrant itself. Your water supply comes in through the bottom and it comes up. It sits in this unit right here and it makes its way through this little piston that's in the bottom. This area right here, you can see it better in this image here, is the reservoir. This is the internal picture of that reservoir. When you shut the unit off, the water drains down and it sits inside this reservoir. This is going to be in the heated space for the roof hydrant or below the frost line for the yard hydrants. And this water is going to be pumped out with that initial stroke. As we talked about in that first image, that first stroke all the way to the L low flow is actually this piston being pushed down and pushing all this water right out through the top. So you'll get a little water that spits out the top, but essentially that is just the water in the reservoir that comes out, and then the fresh water follows once it's engaged past the L. This makes sure it eliminates and removes all the water that is sitting in this reservoir every time immediately. It takes about 1 to 2 seconds. All the water is out and that reservoir is now open again for the next time you shut it off, which lets us be a unit that does not require winterization or any special instructions to operate it. This is just leaning in on our installation side for the roof. We do have a special mounting bracket. Ours is slightly different. We don't attach to the decking of the roof. We actually are tying into the structural part of the building down below. But the mounting bracket does come with the unit for the RH4, and it just leans into more of a structural mount. Now for your Berry hydrant, again, we're going to need to know that frost line for your market, wherever you're going. We want the service cap to be at the top. The service cap is going to be what gives us the ability to service everything from the top level. So we do not want to bury this earth cap guard below this line, because this will be our access point for serviceability, which we're going to talk about here in a second. But again, you'll bury down below the frost line. We would recommend that you're going to put a little bit more deeper, to put maybe a support system, either rock or a cinder block, to support the unit to keep it from settling and dropping down. But all of that would be housed and talked about in our IOMs. And then serviceability, per code, everything needs to be serviceable from the exterior part of the unit. Nobody ever wants to dig anything up to service a product. So through that service cap that we were talking about, the whole entire unit comes out through the top. So I can service every single piece of wearable products within the unit, all by removing that little serviceable cap, and you pull the entire unit through the top. We will provide everything for these units. We pride ourselves in that here at Pryor, that make sure you can rebuild our units. You don't need to replace. Any questions? And I believe actually that's the end of the presentation. So I would open that up to any questions about the Pryor P360 sanitary or any other offerings that we talked about today.
All right.
Okay.
Looks good.
I believe I'm right on the button with my,
Yeah.
my
Yeah,
hours.
that was
really
impressive.
Important. Yeah, it was important for me to hit that. I didn't want to delay.
Awesome. I guess I don't see any questions. I will conclude. Just want to say thank you again to Angel for doing this, and to everyone that attended today. Thank you for taking the time. And as usual, we will be sending out the certificate of attendance at the end of the week. If you have any questions, reach out to me directly. I'll be more than happy to assist you with any questions, or reach out directly to your account manager. That being said, thanks everyone again, and have a good rest of the day. Thanks, Angelo, as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mo. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Thank you for the questions and the feedback throughout the presentation as well. It gives me a couple additional things to address on our end, but appreciate everyone's time today.